Now, this evening, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to concentrate on one book which I wrote some years ago and published with Amazon. It's a paperback. I'm not sure whether it's actually on a Kindle, but it's certainly on paperback, called Some Silly Stories. It's a collection of short stories, which I wrote some years ago, and broadcast live on radio in the south of Spain, in Nerja, on a radio program called Coastline, where they offered me my own little program called Sharp on 4. Tony Sharp on 4 o'clock, this is a little phrase I coined, which they seem to like, and they introduced it with a little piece I wrote many years ago and recorded with a studio band, lovely musicians, in Morgan Studios. Catchy little jazzy thing, which they were very keen to play at a Coastline Radio. So I introduced that with that tune and interviewed various people, most of whom had been in the Second World War. And in between in between sections of this program, I used to read out short stories of other people, like P.G. Wodehouse, of course, the great P.G. Wodehouse, and Kingsley Amis, and all sorts of people. And then somebody said, well, why don't you put in your own stuff, Tony? Well, I don't know. I thought, good Lord, would they like it? I don't know. Anyway, I did, and it seemed to go down very well with the listening public. So some years later, I published them with Amazon. And this is a little book to which I refer, ladies and gentlemen, called Some Silly Stories. Now, silly they may be, but some of them happen to be true. And one of these stories, when I had finished reading it on the radio, my engineer next door in the studio next door with a glass screen and all that sort of stuff said, my God, Tony, through his mic, what a story, isn't it? I said, yes, it's about my own family, so things that go on in families. Anyway, the first story of this collection I called Could There Be Life in Swindon? Well, I don't like to be rude about anybody's precious little town, sweet little town, but you remember one of the great poets, what was his name now, who wrote "Come Friendly Bombs and Drop on Slough." Oh, Betjeman, it was John Betjeman, Sir John Betjeman. Well, I thought, well, he's not the only one who feels strongly about certain little towns in our little old country called England. And so a friend of mine, who was transported by his all-seeing government department from London, which he adored, and he loved working in London, to Swindon, and he was very annoyed about this. At first, after some time, he actually bought a place down there and made sure that his job was as comfortable as possible. In fact, I cannot think of anybody else than this gentleman, who sadly has passed away now, being able more easily to fix up comfortable jobs for himself. But he was a charming man, half Indian and half Austrian. And as this sad voice on the phone that he'd been transported there, I thought, I've got to write a short story about this. I wrote it on one page of A4 and read it out to him the next day when he phoned me from Swindon to my little flat in London. he roared out like he thought that was very funny, because he could take the piss out of himself as well, which was nice. And I hope I can do that as well, ladies and gentlemen, because this world needs laughter, does it not? Anyway, I thought, well, then I'd like to actually extend this story a little bit. And when one day on holiday in Nerja, to my little place that I had in Nerja over the sea, I decided to extend this story to a slightly longer short story. And then I told Dudley Moore about these stories, that he thought it was a very lovely title, Could There Be Life in Swindon? But later I decided to get them published and call the collection that I had Some Silly Stories, one of which was this story, Could There Be Life in Swindon? So, ladies and gentlemen, I do hope you'll have a peep at them on Amazon, because I don't really want to be shot for saying such awful things about Swindon. No, it's not that bad, but anyway, this is the little book which a friend of mine did the cover for. Very simple little cover, which I thought was very funny. The man seemed to like the stories, and the cat was very taken by them, but the young lady, possibly politically correct, was rather confused. But, ladies and gentlemen, I do hope you are not confused. God bless you.